Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chatty Hosts. You're here with myself, Karma, and my lovely hosts, Austin and Boiti.
Hello.
And today we're discussing quite an interesting topic. This is something that I love talking about, honestly. It's the consequences of our actions. Now, this is not a negative or a positive, just to put that out there. This is a natural pros and cons or the cost of a decision we make. So, whatever you do has an outcome. There are things that you lose. So, for instance, if you buy an apple, you're not going to be able to afford the orange. It's not a bad thing or a good thing, it just is.
You're just not getting the orange.
Yeah.
You're just not getting the orange.
The end. Yeah.
And this, of course, is in bigger things. So if you choose one job over another, you're losing out on certain things, but you're gaining certain things as well. So it's this push and pull of what is it that we're putting out there and what are we getting back in return? What are we losing and what are we gaining? It's that whole give and take of life. And it is such an interesting topic.
I think it also, as you said, it's if you're walking into like a store and you wanting both, but you can only have one. It comes down to choices. Life choices you need to make to sit down and reevaluate. Why do I need the apple more than the orange? You need to reevaluate your choices and how you take them, and yeah.
Exactly. This brings me back to business studies. Remember, Karma?
Yes.
The good old opportunity cost. So it's that whole concept of, again, if I buy sneakers, I'm going to miss out buying on the shirt, okay? Or we have to understand that the actions that we put forth, it's going to change our trajectory in any way. And it can be small. Like, this is the crazy part that I'm starting to learn a lot in my studies, in my counselling. Like, a simple decision, like let's say, for instance, you wake up every morning and you decide to say a positive affirmation every morning. You might think, oh, that's very small, but that can be a significant change to your life, a significant consequence that is going to push you into an area that's going to get you to where you want to be, if that's making sense.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention it. For those out there, I want you to understand that everything in life is a lesson. And because I've just been picking it up a lot in research, some like YouTubers, like they've been using some very intense like thumbnails and subjects like, oh, I wasted my 20s, or oh, I wasted this, I wasted that. Let me show you how not to waste your years. Like, there is no such thing as waste. We might feel that, we might think that, but you've got to understand everything that you go through is a lesson. And I think if we understand this concept of consequences and that our actions, what we choose has a consequence, I think we'll just become a little bit more mindful of how we dedicate our time to the things we want.
I love what you said, Austin, how people are putting it out there saying you've wasted your 20s. There's a point where I felt like that at some point, up until you change your mindset.
Exactly.
You didn't waste your time. You had to go through that phase to be where you are right now. Had you not been through that, you wouldn't have fully had that experience of what your 20s were. We're allowed to mess up. That's how we learn.
Exactly.
It's supposed to burn so that you know the fire is hot.
And life, we think like, oh, your best lives are in your 20s. Like, no, your best life is now, regardless of where you are. You can, and that is a choice. That is a choice.
You want to say something, Coms?
I wanted to specifically talk about that, and it's like nothing is wasted, because ultimately if you're needing rest, you're needing rest. The cost of that is illness. If you don't rest, the consequence is you're going to get sick. So you need that rest. Or for instance, taking a longer holiday. You probably needed that.
Yeah.
The consequences of it might be that you're not going to get that promotion immediately. But the truth is, if you'd gotten that promotion and didn't get that holiday, there could be another consequence of that. Your mental health, your physical health, maybe something happened at work. Everything has that pull and take. And it's nothing's wasted. But create the self-awareness that you're able to understand the consequences of your choice. So I know that by doing this thing, it will limit or open up this other thing. And allow yourself to evaluate things and make conscious choices. So what is the intention behind it? What is the outcome you're looking for? Are you aware of both sides? Instead of just being like, I'm angry at you, so I'm going to do this. It's, I'm angry at you, I'm feeling this way, and I have a choice of how I'm going to behave. We have option A, B, and C. Option A is going to have these consequences. Option B, these ones. And option C, these ones. Which, by valuing them, are the right ones. And which aligns with how I want to feel. And the intention I want to cultivate. And then you act. So yes, there's always consequences, but if you have enough self-awareness, you can value your choices.
Exactly.
You can actually allow yourself the amount of space that you need to be, okay, what is it I want and what am I willing to pay for it?
So this is basically saying be aware of the choices you make. If you're upset and you're wanting to act out of rage, just know that the person that you're going to rage out to will also try to rage. And is that what you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to build up a storm, or are you just trying to build up a calm?
That's actually a good point. Like, yes, there are situations where we have big emotions, and big emotions are valid, but it's how you decide to express big emotions that will lead to the cost or outcome that you desire. So are you aware enough to step back from a big emotion to understand the cost of how you express that emotion?
And what can happen?
Yeah, because some choices you can't go back from.
That's the thing. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. It's like, you know, some choices you can't walk away, or some choices, it's going to change things significantly.
Yeah.
And I think that's just another thing I want to highlight here. And I know Kama mentioned it. You know, consequences, it's not a bad thing. It's just because I do think, you know, the word consequence sounds so heavy.
It
Consequence.
sounds intense, like, oh
But-
my word.
It isn't. It's literally just, that is the choice. That is the movement. That is the action. So just always bear in mind with that, everything we do. I mean, like, if I choose to eat healthy every day, my consequence will be I'll live a longer life.
And let's just for our audience, so that they can really understand this, let's put it in a different phrase. So consequence would be the word of choice, we'd say. However, you can say it in other ways. It's the cost of your choice, or
The outcome.
the outcome of your
Outcome, love
choice.
that.
The effect of your choice. It's not, if you're struggling with the word consequence, because it's quite heavy and loaded, specifically as kids, I think we all have that trauma of
Consequences, yeah, oh my
God.
but it's, think of it in whatever term speaks to you. It's the, what are you having to give up for that choice? Because there is, some things are small, and I think we just really went over this. Some things like choosing an apple over an orange, that's pretty basic. Choosing who you marry, that's pretty big.
That's big.
So there's so many layers to this, and it's, what are you aligning with?
What are you aligning with? What are you taking up your time with? You know?
So we kind of need to also be aware of how our actions influence the people around us.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing, as we said, it's a matter of deciding what outcome you want, or you predict things. But it could be in your head that you have a plan of wanting something to work out a particular way. And then Austin, on the other hand, is like, but wait, if you do that, it's going to wild out or like ruin our friendship. We kind of need to sit down and be like, let's stop being Well, I mean, we do say selfishness is okay at times, but just like be wary of the people around you, and just know that.
Just know that it's not just you.
Yeah.
You know, we all have responsibilities in groups. Like, you've got to understand, like, once I make this decision, are certain people going to get affected by this choice? And I think that's another thing we can look into society. Some corporates, some governments, they've just made these choices and decisions, and they haven't realized the impact.
And to be honest, it's not fair.
Yeah.
But then again, life is never fair.
I actually love that. It's that whole, yes, you need to understand your individual value, but you need to understand your place within the bigger community. So look after yourself, put yourself first, but be aware that certain choices that you're going to make are not going to have outcomes that are going to give you what you actually need. So what is the intention and the drive behind your choice? What is making that choice? Is it based in trauma? Is it based in response? Oh, I'm finding myself triggered by this. What is it based in?
So then that kind of brings me to the next, like, the question for us three. Which effect or outcome do you see in your life that brought some big consequences or changed your trajectory, if you can think of one?
Comes.
Why are we starting with me?
You kill it. It's your question.
You start with it. I need a moment to think.
Yeah, no, of course. So, you know, the biggest decision I ever made in my life was how I spoke to myself. And I think I watched, it was a TED Talk that I watched it all on. It was all about words and how it's crazy how she expressed it. She spoke about, just imagine you live in a world and let's say we take this one word out of the world. So like imagine I take out the word zebra. Now in that world, zebras don't exist. So she said, imagine now we take a word and that word no longer exists. So at that point in my life, I was really struggling with my sense of intelligence, my sense of like, yeah.
Where you going with this conversation?
Exactly.
If you take the word out, the problem is.
So then I was like, all right, I'm going to, then I was, so I think she had like three, like take out 3 words. But she's like, you know, it sounds like a very simple exercise, but if you take it seriously, it becomes powerful. So she's like, you know, exactly, like you don't want to, if you say you want the word zebra out, do you never want to see zebras ever again in your life? So then I was like, all right, so you've got to really think carefully about these 3 words you want to take rid of. So I remember one of those words was stupidity. I said now, like, and then you literally imagine a world where stupidity doesn't exist. And then I was like, so you can't use it on yourself. You can't use, like, it's not a word, it doesn't exist. It's not real. So then I could not believe how I started to become less hard on myself when I got something wrong. And I started to realize that I'm not stupid, you know, and when people would use that word, I would, you know, not allow that to affect me anymore. Yeah, because I'd be like, that word doesn't exist in my world. So that's, you know, and I think it has been brought up quite a lot in the Chatty Hosts, but I'm a huge advocate for words and the power of words and how we've got to watch that dialogue that we speak to ourselves, because at the end of the day, the most intimate relationship you will always have is with you.
Is with thyself.
Yeah, you wake up, you go to bed with you. You eat with you. You shit with you. Like literally, like yeah, you're literally
You do everything
you're with you the whole way. Yeah. So that to me was the biggest
game changer
in my life, was my dialogue with myself.
Oh, okay, now that you've mentioned, you see now, because you've brought it up, now I can think of things, you know what I'm saying? You warmed me up.
But just, you know, before we end, I just want to make that clear. This choice, as small as it sounds, it changed my life significantly. So I want our viewers to understand that, you know, we sometimes think, oh, your choice is like the biggest choice you'll ever make is getting married or buying a house or getting a car. No, those are small. The big ones are within.
Mental stuff.
But it takes time. I just want that to be clear. It wasn't like an overnight thing, but when I practiced that, wow.
Life-changing stuff. Okay, cool. Can I go?
Yeah.
I think for me is just being able to detach where I'm not valued or wanted anymore, so that I appreciate myself more and know that it's not me. Because when you hold on to friendships that are toxic for the sake of public appearances, being in need for it, or just we spent so many years and I just can't let go. The second I realized that people don't owe me their time, nor do I owe them their time. And as we always speak, that some people are in our lives for a season and a time, it's okay to let go. So once I've started realizing that letting go is not a wrong thing, I found so much peace. I'm not saying I'm disregarding the relation, the friendship, or whatever it is. However, I'm not going to be forceful towards it. Because the second we tend to force things, they'll build on a lot of toxicity, and it's not good. It's not healthy. So I've learned to let go where I feel the need to, and that has brought me so much peace. It's not easy, as you said, Orson, but once you learn to just detach, you save yourself so much stress and emotional damage.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So mine is based in food. Firstly, just to clarify, I wouldn't say I have an eating disorder of any kind. I would say I have a strange relationship with food. And because of my upbringing, healthy food, you can imagine what my lifestyle has been with the name Karma. Just in this case, make your assumption that is it. So I was never allowed to eat anything unhealthy. So in any situation when I got the opportunity to eat crap, I would grab onto it and stuff my face with all the knickknacks I can get, or all the chocolate, or all the popcorn. Just like, give me the crap. Give me the crap. I want to feel it. And then once I left home, I noticed that I just began eating like everyone. Because I wanted to fit in. Being the kid who was never allowed to have sugar, never allowed to have gluten, not allowed to eat meat, I was always ostracized for it. Like, I got a lot of bullying and stuff out of what I ate. And when I was old enough to make my own choices and I was financially dependent, I found myself eating like everyone else. And I felt like shit. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how you guys lived your whole life like this. Oh, my word.
Well, thank you for coming
feel it.
Yeah, okay, geez, shots fired.
So my point is my biggest choice was learning to listen to my body and not caring what other people think about it. So to some people, they look at me, they're like, you eat rabbit food. Yeah. Or you eat weirdly, or that is so clean, or whatever it is, their judgments. But I found that the consequences of saying no to food I might actually enjoy, but that doesn't make me feel good, has been clarity of mind, feeling good in my body, and feeling how much nurtured my body feels. And that's not saying I eat the way that my parents made me. Granted, no way. But I have found a way to listen to my body that has allowed me to feel amazing. And that does cost me a lot. I mean, the amount of restaurants I can't eat at. Granted, there's a lot of health things that go into my diet. But yeah, it's very limited, the things that I do eat, but I feel great. Always feel great. I don't fit into many social situations. I can never eat at friends' houses, but I feel amazing.
So I think my consequence out of this was just, help me say this word, liberation. I liberate myself from things that no longer serve me, and that's a very positive consequence. It's like, I don't necessarily care.
Then it's funny. Then I don't think I mentioned
Your consequence.
what's the consequence that it caused for me? The consequence was finally learning to love myself, like to have my own back, to have that relationship.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
As much as we said consequence is such a scary word, I feel like all our consequences are such positivity.
Exactly.
And like enrichment, and that was beautiful.
That's what we want to bring across here. Consequence doesn't have to be bad.
Yeah.
It is great to feel great.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah, I mean, and why not take it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. So this is an interesting topic, and I would recommend really reflecting on yourself and your life, and just it's a process.
This is a process. This whole thing on Chatty Hosts is a process.
It's not an immediate thing. This is not something any of us have even like
perfected.
Yeah.
Because it's not about perfection.
But it's the process of following your joy and following your truth and just acknowledging the process of being human and whatever that means, because it does. It's about following that thing that makes you feel good and then understanding the cost of your choices and making the choices that align you the most with your joy.
Amen.
Okay,
You've
so
summed it up so nicely for us.
as always, give us a follow. We'd love to get to 1,000 followers. Please help us do that.
Please, guys, help us.
Share this with someone who you think would value from this conversation. Have a beautiful day and let us know below what topics you'd like to see us talking about next.
Please do.
All right.
All right, Yella.
Bye.